New York.
Apple.
Hot dogs.
Dollar.
Hollywood.
Democracy.
Freedom. Rock and roll. Wall Street.
Statue of Liberty.
Los Angeles, California.
McDonald's.
Jeans.
Bubblegum. Video games. Nintendo.
What's so great about America?
Every Saturday night, 7 to 9 p.m., explore American culture and language.
With MasterSteve,
Ina MK,
And HazvaQT.
tune in to find out about what makes America so great.
The Great American Weekend. Listen exclusively on Radio Van 103.1.
Also, watch us on the Radio Von Facebook page, website, and mobile app.
This has been a long week and a very complicated one. But now, as we're here, everything is set and we're ready for a great mood with the Great American Weekend. And here we are with my co-hosts, colleagues, and friends. HazvaQT MasterSteve.
And Ina MK.
Thank you. And tonight our theme is art and experience, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a very artful experience. I know you've been gone for a week. You want to tell us a little about your trip that you went to Egypt? Is that right?
Yeah, sure. It was a cool trip, full of fun moments and also work, because it was a media trip and the group was supposed to travel around, also see many hotels and then write opinions, pros and cons of what they like, what they don't like, and the territory under the really hot sun, 4 or 5 hotels in a row a day. And then you had
4 or 5 hotels in a row in a day?
Yeah,
you mean like going to different places?
Yeah, and they were huge hotels. Like,
Did you get to take a nap at each one of them?
You have
you should have insisted. Like, if you want me to review this
wish.
hotel, I have to get a bed and I have to sleep for a while.
No, I have to swim in each hotel.
You have to swim in
a
each
swimming pool.
Okay.
And well, yeah.
I would be taking a nap every stop along the way.
I wish I could, but fortunately we had during the week we had hours when we had free time, so we went to the
No, that wouldn't be free time. Taking a nap would be part of the job.
Yeah.
You want me to review the hotel, I need to sleep in the beds.
That would be my driver.
And
rider.
Preferably send me some food in bed. Then room service, please.
And a personal slave who would make me.
Oh yeah, the Egyptian. Egyptian slaves has a.
But coming back to Armenia, I would like to congratulate all of the youth and students of Armenia who had their Verchizang.
The last call.
The last bell. So
just
the high
like in the Game
schoolers,
of
middle
Thrones.
schoolers who had their last classes this week and their little gatherings, recitals, parties last night. Congratulations to all of you, and good luck on your finals.
Good job, guys, for the ones that passed, and try better next time for the ones that didn't.
And also, I would like to speak for my son, because he's now, pretty soon, he's accepted to a school, and from September the 1st...
Do they do the Verchizang thing for manga partes? Or...
well, actually, they have a final performance and get all moms and dads crying and getting all emotional because they have all these beautiful songs, touching things about, our kids are now grown up and they're entering a new level in life, and it's always... And it is always an emotional person. Yeah.
Eye-watering experience.
Yeah, true. A diving experience. Speaking of diving, that was the most favorite part of my trip. Under the sea.
Oh, cool.
There is a whole world, which makes you rediscover your own emotional good things. So it was great.
That sounds like an experience.
Yeah.
An artful experience, if you will, to see to see an underwater world. And
it's art of nature, isn't it, Hazva?
I think so. I have not actually gone scuba diving myself, but whenever I've opened my eyes underwater to see the world underneath, I think of just a highly unique experiences that does connect to you emotionally in a way, because you realize kind of like an aloneness in a way, and the feeling is of being in no gravity. There's no pressure on you other than the pressure of water around you. It's not like a directional pull of standing on the earth. So it's a very unique experience, and I would say something very close to our theme for this week, which is about art and experience.
See, whenever I open my eyes underwater, it stings. So I close them right away, which means I only open them for specific reasons, like open my eyes, where's the shark, close my eyes, head in the other direction.
Where is the shark? It's a very addictive experience, by the way. Once you do it, you want to do it again and again. And so, let's get back to our theme, and announce our guests, upcoming guests.
Yeah, so I'll announce one guest, and then Steve, you can introduce the other, I guess. So our theme for this episode, for all you listeners and for all our listeners out there, is art and experience. And our first guest is a writer, curator, and art critic who is named one of the 10 most influential women in contemporary art of Armenia, Ella Kanegarian, and a good friend of mine. So I'm really excited to be speaking with her today. And Steve, if you want to introduce our
she'll be up
guest.
after the commercial break, right? So
right soon.
Our second guest, who will join us in the second hour of our show, is Ric Gazarian. He's an American Armenian. He comes to Armenia often. He goes all over the world. Okay, he's been to 137 of the 193 countries in the world, and he's on a quest to make it to all 193.
I wish I had a life like that.
Yeah, he's here in, and we'll ask him about that, his travels. He's here in Armenia right now because the Arvest Expo at Napak, which opens on Tuesday, he's got some of his photographs from all around the world that are going to be exhibited there.
So guys, dear listeners, stay tuned. This is going to be a really, really interesting and stuffed episode full of art, adventures, and traveling information. This is the Great American Weekend. We're here till 9 p.m. And you can also watch us live on www.radiofound.fm and our official Facebook page. Here we go on a break. We'll come back soon with our first guest. Stay tuned.
So then I tell the bartender, no, you keep the change.
Guys, I don't get it.
Ina, it's an American thing.
Learn more about American humor on Great American Weekend.
We're back in the studio, and already we have a beautiful lady sitting here on our red couch, writer, curator, and art critic, Ella Kanegarian. Welcome to our studio. Welcome to the Great American Weekend. How do you feel?
I feel non-American.
Yeah.
I feel great.
You're welcome as a non-American.
And I'm welcome.
I'd like to add not only about the part about beauty, but also a brilliant mind, a great writer from my perspective, and someone who I see as participating in a multidisciplinary way in the art field of today, which is kind of what I think is unique about your role. It's not necessarily anything academic or anything that comes from any specific identifiable or labeled position. It's something really unique and different. But I'm glad that you can join us today.
Something blurred, I would say.
That could be a good word.
So help us put it into focus.
Yeah, what makes you so special that puts you onto this list of the top 10 most influential women in the field of art in Armenia?
Oh my God.
She's surprised. She looks surprised.
It sounds full of dictating, and these words like deserve. it's very bold and very heavy word, deserve, from my point of view, because initially I try to stick to this idea that you as a person don't deserve anything at all. Otherwise, this idea of you deserving certain things will lead you to dissatisfaction, to suffering, and it will feed your ego. I don't really want to feed my ego. I want to think that I deserve nothing but what I attract plus what I create. The other thing is
So like earning the
maybe not earning, being involved in anything called list. It's just a matter of being spotted. So you don't really have to do anything for that. The person who creates the list, creates the article, he actually creates you as well.
I see. Okay.
And what creates you, your personality?
How would you create yourself if you were given the chance to do so?
If you were
If
going
you were
to
to
do
put
it,
yourself onto a list, how would you do it?
I wouldn't actually put myself in any list because
I'm going to make you put yourself on a list.
I don't really. Okay.
Or how do you lose oneself, perhaps? Instead of creating yourself,
and then lose
yourself.
God, you guys are so fast. Like, I wouldn't actually want to create myself because it's like obligation. So not existing is probably the best form of existing, and losing myself.
Mm-hmm.
The best way actually to lose yourself is to create a character and not to change your character anyhow in any way. So be your character and not you, because characters are created in certain contexts and they are created to solve certain things, particular issues.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever those issues disappear, there is no necessity of having a character, so we can move on. But none of us actually does it so easily, because we easily try to identify ourselves with our Facebook profiles, the characters created by society, and
which you don't have, by the way, a Facebook profile.
I deleted it.
Maybe you'll tell us why you did it.
It's actually kind of deleting outer noise from my everyday life and putting
it takes
me
too much time
on distance from things I don't really want to know. I don't really want to know who is in relationship now, who's engaged,
who eats what,
who eats what. Yeah, these are informations I don't really want to know, but I know whenever I'm in the system. So I just removed the noise.
Something that we did share on Facebook was this image. I'd asked for a photograph that you would want us to use for promotion.
To identify yourself.
And there's this a photograph done by a young photographer, an emerging photographer, Ganekha Chadurov, that depicts you kind of in lingerie with dollar bills that are on your breasts, and then a Donald Trump mask with a signage in the back that says U.S. Border Patrol. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means? What's that about?
Well, it was Garen's idea to create series of photos dedicated to Donald Trump and how he actually endured this idea on how the politician should be, but each image he was trying to make like more and more grotesque. But the thing is that Donald Trump and everything he does is like so unbelievably grotesque-ish and sometimes even vulgar that you can't overdo it. So it's just me naked with dollars on my breasts and with Donald Trump's head, which could be bigger because his head is like too big for his body, though it doesn't change anything.
Naked truth about Donald Trump. And here we are, ready to go on a break, which will be followed by music, Joe Cocker, Summer in the City, and then we'll be back with more questions for Ella. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend.
Hey, what kind of fixins do you like on your hot dog?
Fixins? Yeah, relish, onions, mustard, ketchup, condiments.
Conda?
No, not that.
Oh, fixins. I love chili dogs.
Learn about American cuisine on the Great American Weekend.
Oh my God.
Hello, everyone. We're back in the studio live on the Great American Weekend with our guest, Ella Kanegarian. Ella is a curator, writer, and art critic who is joining us to speak about art. Yeah. And Steve, you had something to say?
And
I've got a question. I want to go back to the discussion that we were having before the break. And I know, Ella, that you are not the artist, but you were, you were part of the photograph, the series of photographs, and you chose it to be on our post announcing, right? And you explained how, how things that Trump does are so grotesque, right? That to follow that in an artistic way, right, is, I guess, necessarily to be grotesque. Okay. But why? Why would you want to follow the grotesque? Why did you choose that as the picture? Why follow something down that road?
Why did I choose that picture? Because I don't really have normal pictures of myself. Those are always like portraits done by artists or done by me. And that one, I thought like it's pretty good and it matches your show. Though when I should send the picture, I was told that maybe I'll have something interesting wearing, because I do have a t-shirt which tells, done by the same artist, Karen Khachatur, which says buy art or send nudes. And they told me like maybe it will be like a statement to also use your picture like a statement. So I decided the bigger statement, the more interesting conversations will be. So I chose Donald Trump.
Okay, but what is like to be accomplished or to be gained by following the grotesque, by producing something more grotesque?
Why not? I mean,
I don't know. I saw the photograph. It wasn't that grotesque to me. It was
I mean that was the term that she used. So
I used it. But the thing is, after doing those series, Karen Khachatur realized himself that whatever he does cannot overdo the reality in that case. But art is just a tool to talk about many different things. You can use to deny the reality, or you can use it to sharpen things and sharpen them to the point where it's absolutely disgusting to watch or not really convenient.
Okay, but still, I mean, why put something, you just use the word disgusting. I mean, why do that? What is to be gained by that?
Sometimes these things provoke conversations. Mm-hmm. This is what European cinema actually tries to use. It uses some symbols which actually provoke the mind, provoke to conversations. So this is just a form.
Okay, so what kind of conversation is supposed to come out of that photo or that series of photos?
Depends on the context, actually. Whenever we're talking about art, it's art ends in the galleries, on the walls. So the context also defines what kind of things you can provoke. I mean, if you show it in a church, it will provoke very different thing than if you show it online.
Okay, but I mean, provoke what?
Emotions?
Emotions, maybe emotional conversations on taboos, maybe emotional conversations on politics. But it will definitely open up something, because wherever there's politics and sexuality, there's always something to tell.
But does it have to necessarily be a conversation? Can it be like an inside monologue or a dialogue with within?
Yeah, monologues are types of conversations too, but they are used by melancholic types of people, and like me.
I guess
I have
like an interior, monologue where you're thinking something over.
That is what I meant.
A monologue is a kind of conversation too, but there's always some point where you actually decide and choose to turn it into an actual dialogue.
Or not. Or you just keep it inside and
that's also the best way, maybe.
Continuing with this photograph and the photographer Karen Khachadurov, I wanted to ask you what are the criteria, or how do you choose who you work with? Because as a person who is kind of multidisciplinary in this way, you have many options of what projects to take on and which artists or which people to work with, and how do you go about making those decisions, or how do those relationships come about?
Okay,
with regards to contemporary art.
Okay, this kind of continues the internal dialogue and monologue part, because I'm type of person who has an inner monologue with everything, and sometimes I don't really like to be interrupted, but so it means I don't necessarily go and find artists myself. They do find me, and this intrusion actually creates a dialogue, and if we succeed to have a harmonic dialogue, a balanced one, it comes up and becomes maybe an exhibition, maybe an article, I don't know. Sometimes these communications are ruined by both sides, but it doesn't really mean that the ruined communications have nothing to tell. I mean, by ruined communications, I also learned how to work with them. So it's usually them.
Oh, okay. I have a question because coming from a place of both being an artist and also working in curating an exhibition currently, I see the different roles that are played with regards to the field. And in terms of writing, developing content, promotion, being the artist, or understanding what it is that you want to create in order to exhibit and show. But the question, I guess, how would you define what art is, and what would constitute good art? What would that mean to you? I mean, me personally, I've had education at my university. I learned that there were 4 pillars of good artwork, which were comprised of universality, craftsmanship, sincerity, and magnitude. And this is something that was given to me by someone else. And I'm curious as to, it kind of rings true for me, but I'm curious as to your perspective. What do you think makes good art, and what is art?
Elajan, before you answer this question, I would like to remind to our listeners to write their comments. They can ask their questions in our live video. And by the way, you'll have a little bit time to think, because we have a song break.
Okay, great. So we'll have the answer to what is art and what makes good art after this commercial break.
She's got time to think about it, so it's going to be good.
It's good. It's not commercial. It's only a song.
Oh, song break.
So
okay.
Music is always good to think.
Yes, inspiration.
Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend with our first guest, Ella Kanegarian. What's the best word in American English?
My all-time favorite word is but I usually refer to it as lovemaking.
Become more fluent in American English and slang.
Welcome back to the Great American Weekend here on Radio Vaughn. I am here with Ina MK, HazvaQT,
hey, and MasterSteve, and our dear guest, Ella Kanegarian. I have a question, Ella. Yeah. We have a question pending, right? Okay.
She's been ruminating.
I almost forgot about it too.
Could you please remind?
I have the memory of a mosquito.
A fish. I know that fish also has a short Dory.
So just before the music break, I asked a question to our guest Ella Kanegarian. Ella, what do you think is what the fuck is art, and what constitutes good art? Because it's nebulous. It's you know you can have so many different definitions for it. So I guess it would come down to your definition. What is your truth about the matter?
I really, really try to not have any definitions considering art, especially divided into good and bad, though I understand. Sometimes we need to have clues on quality, but the division between good and bad, low and high, and it's so Cold War-ish. I don't know. It comes from Cold War, probably, when Soviet Union, VC, US were trying to slam each other by manipulating those ideas of kitsch and avant-garde, of a good art and bad art. Though I have this idea that maybe we should have clues on what is low, what is high, but sometimes we do institutionalize them, and after it we are framing our perceptions with those ideas.
I mean, within the context of the question, I think I might have sounded institutionalized because I had referenced my own university education, but the fact remains that the question still holds, because let's say, for example, there's good sex and then there's bad sex, and you quantify that, you qualify that as well.
Well, that's easy.
Well,
okay, but wait.
So what is it that causes good sex and what causes bad sex? Because there's a good feeling
into a more
American dominance. Boom.
Maybe if we put it into a more pragmatic framework. Earlier, Hazva had asked, how you decide which artists to work with. Mm-hmm. Right? You didn't quite answer that question. You said they find you, because that was part of his question as well. But let's approach this. What is your definition of art? And then maybe even like good art, bad art, in this way. How do you decide which artists to work with or not to work with? How do you decide whether this person, maybe this person's an artist and this person is just goofing around?
Okay. My personal approach is, and it's also based on my taste, of course, but at the same time, I really try to escape people. It's not about work only. Escape people who are just trying to find attention with the help of art and not solve any problems. They don't have any ideas. This is when it's just something beautiful, but without any meaning. And this probably will lead the artist to devastation, because when your self-respect, when your motivation is based on the other's appreciation, you can also easily be broken by others. But the artist is probably the person, the real artist, and the interesting person, the interesting artist is probably the person who has this uninterrupted inner dialogue with bigger narratives, bigger things. And he's trying to solve things through art. He's trying to understand himself and his time through art. And he's kind of holding the global pulse of the world, though being local. This is a kind of, it's an issue of contemporary Armenian art.
But how do you know, how does an artist know if they're, you said, holding the global pulse? How do they know that they're finding that?
You can never know. It's like a gambling.
So you think that it's by chance that a good artist would be appreciated internationally?
Yes, and yes and no. And if you're not appreciated, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not good. You're just not filtered by this time, or you
just haven't been discovered.
Or maybe discovered, or maybe these ideologies don't really need your works, but there will come ideologies which will probably use your works, your ideas, because art is like, it's very abstract thing, even when it's figurative. So it's easy to put a lot of ideologies there to make it political, sound like a propaganda. It's really easy to do it, but you need to find the proper artist and the proper artwork to do that.
Ella John, I have a question. As a person who deals with art and artistic people and people who have no boundaries, probably mostly, how to learn thinking outside of the box?
Put yourself in the box first. Live in the box and
get sick and tired of it.
Maybe not, but we all of us try to identify being in box as something negative, but or like an issue to be solved. But in order to solve an issue, you should live with an issue, embrace the issue, and maybe you will, like an immune system actually does of human body. And maybe after embracing the issue, you'll understand the issue doesn't really exist. So thinking outside of the box is when you just ruin this.
Okay, so everything is in the head.
Yeah, probably.
There's the Russian painter Vasily Kandinsky has a quote that says, "Color is the keyboard, the eyes are the harmonies, the soul is the piano with many strings. The artist is the hand that plays, touching one key or another to cause vibrations in the soul." What do you think about that? Is art a way of evoking a vibration of the soul?
Also, it is also, I mean, it has many layers, and it's up to you which layer you can discover. It's up to your education, your self-education, and the depth you are able to give.
It's a very concise answer. So I guess how to explore those depths.
Here's one. You may or may not like this.
Come on.
You can just skip it if you want.
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Three words. How do you distinguish between them? Entertainment, art, and propaganda.
Why should I?
Or the reverse of a propaganda, truth.
Why should I? Because
I mean, you're putting them like it's a very. I mean, why are you putting them aside? And I don't really understand.
Well, because there's a difference between them, isn't there?
Is there any difference? I mean, the mechanism is the same. Art is being used to entertain people. It means to lower the noises from the outside and concentrate them on something ephemeral like love, blah blah shit.
Well, no, okay, but I mean, can art be escapism?
It can, but it can also be the tool which focuses your attention. Like whenever we talk about propaganda, the art is used in order to concentrate your attention towards some issue or something that is considered to be an issue. But entertainment is doing the reverse. And art is tool. It's a tool.
So
it's
what
like
is it
science.
a tool
it's
for?
A tool.
What's the...
For self-discovery, for discovering the world and discovering that you can never discover anything about the world. I mean, it's basically the same as science. It just uses different forms of interaction. But it's global and universal. That's why we love it, even though we hate it sometimes.
And sometimes we hate the advertisement, which interrupts us at the very interesting point, the most interesting point.
Do we have more time? Do we have more time with Ella?
We can do that. Why not?
Okay, great. When we return, I'd like to ask some questions about the local art market and what you think is happening now that's worth talking about.
We're giving up our quotes to talk more with Ella here right now on air. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend with HazvaQT MasterSteve and
Ina MK.
Ina MK, baby.
Yeah.
I would never live in America.
Why not? Didn't you enjoy your time there?
Yeah, why not?
It was good, but it wasn't great.
Because you didn't know us when you were there.
Join Ina MK, MasterSteve, and HazvaQT for a great American experience.
Every Saturday on the Great American Weekend.
We're back in the studio with three of us, my co-host HazvaQT MasterSteve and Ella.
Ina and
Yeah, and myself. And also our guest, Ella Kanegarian, who is ready to ask more and more questions. And I hope you like our questions.
Yeah, it's like speaking with the Buddha. It's like, what is the meaning of life?
Yeah. When will I die?
It's like being grilled by Congress.
That was American Dominance number 2. That was awesome.
So I've got here some quotes which we would like to discuss also with you, whether you agree with the meaning or not. So I'm going to start now. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up. Pablo Picasso.
I think he just meant that children have this free mind of expressing whatever they feel. Mm-hmm. But I mean, artist is an institutionalized word still. Yeah, but that's a cool quote.
Okay, we have another
Thanks,
one.
Picasso.
Painting is easy when you don't know how, but very difficult when you do. Edgar Degas.
That's a cool one.
She likes something.
It's probably about overcoming these institutionalized boundaries and musts, and creating something which is your own.
Yeah, I think it's more about, if you're struggling to just paint something, like you see something or you've got a model and you're struggling to just paint it, then you're struggling with your own skill, with your own tools, right? And that's a struggle. But once you master working with the tools,
like a Steve master,
once you master working with the tools, then all of a sudden, I could paint a portrait of you that's really realistic. I can't, but the artist who is skilled could paint a portrait of someone that's really realistic. So what do they do next? Then they have to start thinking for themselves and deciding, what do I want to create? What sort of message might I want to send?
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
It's about being a tool of art and using art as tool, probably. These two differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are ready for another one?
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
It's a very simple one. This is a Frank Lloyd Wright quote. So he's an architect. I don't know if that constitutes an artist as in the institutionalized definition of it, but he says
his works are art.
Yeah.
I agree.
Falling Water and the Guggenheim Museum in Manhattan, and those aren't just buildings.
Yes, and to continue with American dominance, the Library of Congress has many images that are high quality available of all of the plans of some of his buildings that you can download for free. But this quote here has to do with his architecture and with regards to as being art. He says 5 words: form and function are one.
That's beautiful. I mean, you can use this quote everywhere, actually. Because whenever, plus issues maybe, forms which have no functions, it means forms which solve no issues are purely nothing. And it's about his architecture and the architecture in general, and in general about the beauty. Because, okay, the building has the function, it's to be filled, but art also has functions, but the functions of art are defined by each artist. So whenever there's just lack of any function, lack of any issue which you solve, you're just painting, which is cool, and it's a choice, but you're just painting. Okay,
I'm curious about that because I'm curating an exhibition of an artist, Ric Gazarian, that's going to be opening this weekend, this next week, and he's known to not really speak about his artwork. So if what you say is true, that the definition of artwork is defined by the artist, what happens in that space where an artist gives total freedom and gives this space open, kind of like that Heidegger quote about the artist taking a step back from the work of art itself and allowing it to exist and to speak on its own.
The artist is a tunnel through which he or she brings the work of art to life, and then they collapse afterwards.
Yeah, there's this like indifference or this space that's allowed for this the artwork to live on its own. So what happens when a piece is born, let's say, and is given the freedom to express itself without the, let's say, analytical adulteration of the spoken word or the written word by the artist himself?
He probably makes you think.
This is what art is all about.
Yeah, probably art and maybe religion are about making you think, giving you samples and giving you the freedom of choice, what to choose.
Because sometimes it happens to see a piece of art or whatever, or a sculpture or a painting, and you realize that the artist introduces the artwork even in a greater way than this piece itself speaks for itself. You know what I mean? So it's like too much talking, but actually when you see it doesn't talk to you at all. So maybe it's about when there is a really good work, you don't have to explain it much. It will speak for itself.
I like
what
that.
do you guys think?
I usually have that experience a lot because we used to think that contemporary art is about the concept, but the truth is there's also some sort of aesthetic in them which speaks to you. Maybe the different kind of aesthetic we are used to see in art, but still there is, because the lighting, the shape, I mean, there are a lot of modern and contemporary artists who are super conceptual, but they still make you think, still make you feel. Like, for example, Olafur Eliasson, who actually uses whole space.
Cool. And I have a question to Ella. What kind of works attract your attention the most?
What type of works, maybe? I don't really know. It just depends on the work. If the work is really done technically well, it attracts me. But I don't really like figurative painting. I realized this thing about myself. I mean, I don't really understand it.
I was just having a conversation earlier this morning with an art appraiser. His name is Israel Stepanyan. And we were talking about the concept of how an artist can choose when a work of art is no longer his, because he is involved with the appraisal of artwork and involves the story and the authentication part of it as well. But he doesn't do the authentication, but it's part of it. And he was speaking about this concept where an artist can have a condition that if there's this small change or if there's small type of damage, that this work is no longer my own. Something else has acted upon it and its influence. And I've always been curious about this concept of, like, Solo Witt is an artist who has instructions for others to do his artwork and takes up the whole space, like your Olafur Eliasson. Or Salvador Dali has like an entire factory of people working on his work. So where is that boundary, or that blurred boundary between the artist that conceptualizes an idea and then starts fabrication? Or must it be done by his hand, or could it be something that's also an accidental addition?
Why do we seek boundaries? It's up to your choice. This is, I think it's too rude to seek differences between those, because one person is a doer and he likes to do it himself. The other person is directing his work, like Jeff Koons, like David LaChapelle. Nobody can say that they didn't do anything because they thought every single detail, but they don't have to necessarily be involved in the technical doing of that. This actually is a nice question, because a lot of Armenian contemporary artists really think that being an artist is always doing things yourself, but you can actually collaborate with others, collaborate with masters. If you have an idea, with sculptors, if you are not a sculptor yourself, but you have a beautiful idea of conceptual sculpture, you can communicate. The communication probably is the biggest issue in contemporary Armenian art and also contemporary Armenian history, because we have these small gaps of modern history where we don't actually know each other well. We don't even know what was happening in 90s, in mid-90s, yesterday, what was happening in Spurg. These are the gaps to be filled, and I see that a lot of younger artists try to fill that gap.
How can we connect more? How can we communicate more? Or how can, as a general Armenian society, but also as like the artist, how is that possible?
Isn't Facebook enough for you?
Sometimes.
Okay, we could create, like, there is no professional communication, so we could create that field when we professionally communicate with each other, not just go out and drink, because going out and drinking doesn't solve anything.
Oh, there's the Armenian Art Fair that's happening now. That's happening not now, but when is that happening? June. It's May 30th. Yeah. There's the Arvest that's happening now.
Yeah. Yes. No. Arvest starts on Tuesday. Yeah.
And it's Art Week currently in Armenia, which is kind of a place where those conversations can start and that communication
they
can start.
Yeah. If there will be narrator, probably.
If there's someone that has something to say.
Yes.
A moderator.
Hey, Ella, do you think that our society, the Armenian society, is ready to understand and, understand and kind of digest modern art? Because I used to be part of Triennale 2 years ago, and I was doing the social media and there all the materials and photos and stuff, and so the reactions of the public was really different. I mean, a lot of people didn't even understand all the performances, the installations, and I saw weird reactions, also good reactions. And what do you think about this? Are people ready to kind of take a new look at what modern art is and kind of separate their, as we mentioned before, the box of the classic art?
Thanks for the question, by the way. I think they are ready because whenever any exhibition happens in places which are available for people to see, they are interested. Like grandmas are interested, aunties are interested, because in Soviet times it was okay to visit a lot of exhibitions even without this desire, but they do still have this desire to go out somewhere to see something. They have this hunger of things, but they don't have the information where to go, what to see. And there is actually also a communicational problem, because I think we have a beautiful society which can accept many things, but we should work with the material in order to make them accept different things, because I'm not sure, but I've seen that Armenian society, many people actually have a horrible life. And what if you present art as something which can make them just distance themselves from that life for 2 moments, 3 moments, I don't know, 3 seconds maybe, to give them peace, maybe they'll try to understand. But you have to explain. If there's no explaining, probably they'll not understand any of that, because it's like, sometimes it's too harsh. Sometimes I enter an exhibitional space and I understand that I see many interesting conceptual manipulations, but no art.
I see. Okay, thanks. Thanks for your answer. And we are about ready to say bye-bye to our dear guest. Thanks for all your interesting comments and very unique an art approach to every question that we asked.
I'd say blurred.
Well, it was great. Thanks for accepting our invitation, and thanks to Aramast, our dear HazvaQT, for bringing
Must.
Now it's must.
Kito.
HazvaQT.
Janik.
QT Janik.
QT Janik for bringing Ella here in our studio.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ella. Ella Kanegarian, writer, curator, and art critic, and multidisciplinary, influential woman in the art field in Armenia. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy our show?
Yes, I definitely did.
I guess she always gives honest answers, so I guess
sometimes.
This is okay, guys, stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend, and we have another guest coming up soon. Stay tuned.
Ina, what would make America great again?
More barbecue.
No, we need more freedom. That's what'll make it great.
Join us on Great American Weekend
And help us solve all of America's problems.
Every show is recorded by the NSA and sent to the White House.
We're back in the studio, ready to welcome our second guest. And I would like to remind that we have a really, really interesting guest who has a lot of things to tell tonight. So he is a travel blogger, author, podcaster, and documentary producer, Ric Gazarian, who has been to 137 countries and wants to see all 193 of them. Tune in and ask your questions in the comments. Hello. Good evening, Ric.
Good evening, everybody. Paravzez.
Paravzez.
Good to see you. Good to see you all.
How are you doing?
Likewise.
I'm doing great. Great
are you
to be
comfortable there on the red couch?
It's beautiful.
The
Thank
couch
you.
of honesty.
Uh-oh. The pressure's on.
Okay. So
thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for
it's
the
good to
invite.
see you. How many? Here, I'm going to ask, and this is a question you may not necessarily know the answer to. How many times have you been to Armenia?
I have been here every year since 2003. I won't do the math.
And sometimes more than once, right?
16 years.
It's basically just once a year.
Just once a year?
Yeah.
Okay. And then where is your next? What is your next new country?
My next new country will not be until September. It's supposed to be Pakistan, then Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan.
So 3 new ones. Nice.
That is the plan.
Nice. What got you started with all of this traveling?
There wasn't one defining moment, unfortunately, so that would be a much better story. So it was several...
It would also be shorter, and we've got plenty of time, so tell a nice long one.
So I'll start it from 2004. I got laid off from my job, and I looked at it as a great opportunity. So I actually, let me take a step back before that. I went to Armenia for my first time in 2003 with my dad. It was a very traditional holiday with Levon tours. We stayed at Hotel Ani. Every day the bus picked you up at 10 a.m. and drove you somewhere. And I saw a lot of the country, but it was a very touristy type trip. But during that trip, I met a woman who was working for USAID. And she was doing some consulting work for a couple months. And I said to myself, my God, that would be an incredible experience if I could come to Armenia and somehow contribute or give back. But I had a very traditional life, 3 weeks vacation, working a corporate job. I'm like, I'll never get to do that. Several months later, I got laid off. And I said, awesome. Now I got to figure out how I can get there to Armenia and what I can do. I ended up finding Armenian Volunteer Corps and came here in 2004 to volunteer. What I planned to be for 1 month ended up being for 4 months because I was having a spectacular time. And I also combined that for a total trip of traveling overseas for 9 months. So that's when I really started to get involved with travel.
Wow. So from a 1 month volunteer trip to Armenia. Your second time, that would be your second time here.
Exactly.
Had you been anywhere else outside of the U.S. before your first trip to Armenia in 2003?
Yeah, I had, but I was not that big of a traveler. There was a trip to South America once for 2 weeks, a weekend in Iceland, but I wasn't...
Hold up. There was a trip to South America. There was a trip to Iceland. It wasn't very much traveling. Dude, that like leaves the average American in the dust already right there.
Well, maybe statistically. Maybe.
So, but sorry to interrupt you, but continue.
So that was my first big foray, that 9 months in 2004. I went back to America. I got back into the old corporate world, working 9 to 5. And miraculously, I don't know if it's me or just my bad luck or good luck, I got laid off again 12 months later. And I said, awesome, I'm going on another trip. This one was only 3 months. I came back again, went back right into the same old groove, corporate America. That was 2005. In 2008, and this one's definitely not my fault, the financial crisis came to the U.S., and I work in financial services industry at that point. I did get laid off again. In November, I started planning right away. I'm like, I did not like my boss. I did not like the company. The only thing I liked was the money. January of 2009, I left the U.S., and I went on a trip for 11 straight months. And during that time, I said, I cannot go back to my traditional life of working 9 to 5. Travel has to be a bigger part of my life. And I got to figure out something else out to get away from the corporate world.
And so what was that something else?
I did start 2 businesses. One failed, one worked out. The second one was real estate investing in Chicago. So that is in reality, my vocation, and that's what supports me. My second business, which I've been developing over the years, is multifaceted travel-related businesses.
Oh, interesting. So you're still based out of Chicago at this point?
To be very precise, Steve, I'll give you the breakdown for 2018. 90 days I lived in Bangkok. Okay. 60 days in Boston, 30 days Chicago, and 6 months traveling overseas to different countries was 2018.
That's phenomenal.
Wow.
That's great. Do you ever get sorry. I mean, do you ever want to settle? Does that ever happen? Like
I mean, and I'm an incredibly fortunate person. There's no doubt what I get to do is, unique and spectacular. I'm so lucky. But in some weird way, and I don't want people to hate me too much, it's at some level, it is a grind, and it is in this weird way a job. And what I mean by that, there's a vacation. You can go to the Maldives and lay on the beach for a week and swim, take naps and eat. That's pretty relaxing. But a lot of my trips, it might be 5 countries in 4 weeks, and I'm switching hotels every 2 nights, and you're trying to figure out how to get from A to B and C to D. So it's incredible and it's awesome, but it's not necessarily relaxing. So yeah, there's some part of you that says, I just want to sit on the couch, fire up Netflix, order that pizza.
We're going to have a break, after which we're going to listen to Janis Joplin, Mercedes-Benz, and we'll be back to talk more with Ric. Stay tuned. This is the Great American Weekend.
Վարչապետ Նիկոլ Փաշինյանը հեռախոսազրույց է ունեցել Ղազախստանի նախագահ Նուրսուլթան Նազարբաևի հետ.
Oh, could they just speak a little bit slower?
Don't worry. You can catch local news, events, and culture in English every Saturday on Great American Weekend.
Back in the studio with our dear guest, Ric Gazarian, who's a travel blogger, podcaster, and who's seen almost the most of the world.
Getting close.
Yeah. And we're ready to ask all our questions to our traveler, because he knows a lot more than we do. That's for sure about the world. So, what's your favorite place so far? Is there one? Can you name?
That's the most difficult question for a traveler. Your favorite place. I have a couple of stock answers, and I'll go with one of them. And my favorite place to visit is Burma, or currently known as Myanmar. It's a country located in Southeast Asia, kind of in between India, China, and Thailand. I just went for my 5th visit in February. Unbelievably fantastic, interesting, engaging, historic, beautiful country.
What's so engaging about it?
First, it's back in time. It's back a generation or two. Development has not hit Burma. There's no McDonald's. There's no Starbucks. I think they got their first ATM in 2012. In 2005, a SIM card was something like $2,000. So it's much more of a traditional place in culture.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with the political situation there, right? I mean, for those of us that aren't travelers, but that do follow the news, Burma, Myanmar is most famous for, right now, Aung San Suu Kyi. Well, and then there are other things related to and springing from that, and some bad things as well, which has actually, put that Nobel Peace Prize winner in a difficult spot, or maybe she put herself in a difficult spot.
Yeah, Burma at some level was closed off. It was a military dictatorship for many, many years. There were many, lack of diplomatic relations and with the country. And over the last several plus years, it's opened up significantly. It's a much easier country to visit, and so much to see. Incredibly friendly people, very economical place to visit. Just fantastic.
Are they used to seeing foreigners yet? Are they used to seeing tourists?
Like any place, there's a tourist circuit, so to speak. So I would say 4 very popular places. They're more used to seeing foreigners. You really won't be churning too many heads. The other year, I went to this place called Morocco, which is a little bit more off the beaten path. A series of just incredibly beautiful temples there. And it was, it's fun. I was stopped numerous times by the locals, for the selfies, the photos, because there I am a bit more of an outlier.
By the way, we have comments, and one of them is by John Cogtoston, who says, "Hi, guys, looking good." So there's an online compliment. Hello, John.
He's too sweet.
Okay, and I've got another question here. If you could swim with dolphins or go shark diving, which would you pick?
I've done neither.
Okay.
I will say go swimming with the dolphins. They're just lovely creatures. And
have you ever touched a dolphin?
Yeah, I think I have. Not recently, but as like a kid at the aquarium, I think more like that.
Yeah, because before you do that, you have the feeling that they're kind of slippery, but when you touch them, there's a rubber feeling. They are so cozy.
Oh, you've touched dolphins.
Yeah. Before. Where would you not travel again?
Yeah, I mean, in general, most of the countries I have visited, I'd like to revisit. I've gone a couple countries that I'm not that fond of. I went to Niger, not Nigeria, but Niger the other year, and I feel guilty at some level. I was only there for a couple nights. I was only in the capital. It's a big country, but I wasn't impressed. It was, 45, 50 Celsius. When you looked at the iPhone weather app, it was just orange, meaning just dust and sand. The people were kind of not that friendly. There wasn't that much to see in the capital.
I don't know, man. If you were stuck in that kind of weather all the time, would you be very friendly?
And what are the most friendly nations that you've met?
So I would say Southeast Asians are pretty friendly. Indonesia, Thailand, Burma. Very easygoing, friendly, helpful, smiling. And then the other shout out I'll give is actually to the Arab countries, which, for stereotypical, in general, people I think, have not positive feelings to the Middle East. But as a visitor, you're going to encounter a lot of hospitality, whether that's Kuwait or Syria or Mauritania. Just people, the Arab culture has a lot of hospitality there.
Yeah, that's what I faced when I was in London. There was this stereotype of them being cold and really official and not friendly, but I experienced total opposite thing. I mean, if you ask a person in the street how can I go there, they almost see you to the place that you're asking about. I mean,
you've heard the stereotype there. I've heard the stereotype that English people have the English politeness. Like they're polite. They're not necessarily totally revealing of their thoughts. That's the stereotype that I've heard. With Russians, though, I've heard. Have you been to Russia? I've heard that they're cold people. Did you find them to be that way?
Yeah. The Russians, I would say, are not the friendliest people, but to go into that a little deeper, so the Russian you meet who's the sales clerk in the store is not friendly.
Right, of course.
Of course.
The Russians who you get to know and make a little bit of a friendship are great people.
Drink with them a little bit. And
So where have you been in Russia? Because I've always heard that there's a huge difference between Moscow and St. Petersburg. And I've only ever been in Moscow. I've never been to St. Petersburg. There's a huge difference in the people there. And then the rest of the country is completely different from the two of them. Have you experienced that?
Not yet. And I've spent about 6 weeks in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and one night in Novgorod. But as they say in Russia, there's Moscow and St. Petersburg, and then there's the rest of the country. So I haven't experienced that part, and it's definitely high on my list.
And now we have a small music break again. Mary J. Blige, Be With You. So be with us, stay with us till 9 p.m. because we've got some interesting stories yet to share with you guys. The Great American Weekend.
Hello and welcome to the Great American Weekend. Today...
Steve, who is that?
I think we've been infiltrated by a Russian radio host.
Learn about American politics on the Great American Weekend.
Down with Trump.
Hey, and we're back live on air with our main man, Ric Gazarian, who is just resoundingly saying, down with Trump. I'm all for that. I commend you on that, the brazenness.
Politics is always Donald Trump.
In a way, yeah. Now, contemporary politics.
He is a symptom that has become the problem.
Yes, basically. So we're here with Ric, who is a world traveler, blogger, and also entrepreneur, of which I'm really curious about. You've been in over 120 different countries, is that right?
137. Don't shortchange me.
All right. I earned those 17.
They're hard-earned.
I was curious about you had mentioned a little earlier about after these several layoffs back to back, starting up travel-based businesses. And for me, I immediately think to myself, I want that. How do I do that? What do I need to do? And so I'm curious about what are those travel-based businesses that you have started, and what are they comprised of? What do they look like? As a plug and also as out of interest, is that something I could do?
I love plugs. So the Kool-Aid.
Plug away.
So the Kool-Aid on the internet. The Kool-Aid on the internet when you're reading travel blogs is quit your job, travel blog, and travel the world for free.
Yeah, that's the Kool-Aid I don't want to drink from.
I want to do that.
It's tasty. But the reality is, I'm going to throw out a number, 90% of the people who do that, after 6 months, end up going back to their home country and getting a job again. Because after 6 months of traveling and blogging, they've made $430. And travel blogging, like any other business that you're starting on your own, is incredibly difficult. So starting your own business and operating it successfully takes tons of time and tons of work. Travel blogging is no different. Mine has grown very organically. My blog, which I started in 2014, the reality is, again, I had a real estate business which supports me. So I wasn't dependent on, paying my rent on travel blogging. But I'll just give you two quick examples how I make money. One very simple, selling links. So in other words, once a week, once a day, I get emails from companies saying, hey, we want to put a link on your website. We'll give you $100. Mm-hmm. So that's, sort of quick money. I occasionally do that if it's a good fit. The second thing is I work with a company called G Adventures. G is one of the largest tour companies in the world. They're based in Canada. They operate in over 100 countries, sending several 100,000 people a year on tours. Great company, great organization. I am, in essence, their brand ambassador.
Oh, cool.
So G Adventures sends me on 2 trips a year to promote their brand, to promote their trips, to create content and market their trips to my followers. So those are 2 ways that I am compensated in travel blogging.
Very cool. For some reason, I had something like those make sense in my mind. I had some kind of coffee cart, like thought, like some kind of compactable market thing that you would go and you bring some products from one other country that you came from and bring it to another. But
But there's guys who do that, and there's a million ways to skin the cat, and everybody figures out some way. Who, if they're successful, they figure out a different way to earn and make money. And some people do that. They go to Indonesia, they buy $10,000 worth of handicrafts, they fly home to Vancouver, they stay there for a month and sell that $10,000 for $30,000, and then they're back on the road.
I know a couple here. That's one is they're here basically traveling after being in Colombia, where they had a bed and breakfast. They bought, renovated, and sold, and then before that, they had an apartment in Barcelona. And they basically go to each different place, invest in some form of real estate that's in a great location, transform it, and then after their experience there, sell it for a profit, and then continue to someplace else, and kind of doing like real estate travel, which it's interesting form of way to see the world.
Do you prefer to travel alone or with someone?
All the above. And I've done every iteration of travel since I've been traveling, whether it's alone, with friends, traveling to meet people, traveling with my wife. So I've done every version, and each one, of course, has its own pros and cons.
Have you ever taken a group with you as acting as like their tour guide?
Have I ever taken a group, Steve? That is a great segue. Everybody, I'll be taking a group of people this November to Bhutan.
Nice.
So please go to my website and join the trip in November to Bhutan.
Your website is Global Gaz, is that it?
Yeah, globalgaz.com.
Nice.
What is your dream travel experience, if you haven't had any yet?
I've had so many incredible, awesome, great experiences, but my dream travel experience will be when I finish my quest, my goal of traveling to all 193 countries.
Okay, so you just basically concentrated on making it happen, and then what are you going to do then? After
retire.
What out of the ones that you have? Out of the ones that you have left, which one do you think will be the most difficult to accomplish?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of challenging ones left. Libya, Afghanistan, obviously a security issue in visiting those two.
North Korea.
I've already been to North Korea.
Oh, you have?
That's good because U.S. citizens are now banned from traveling there. That's the one country where there's a ban, so don't have to worry about that.
What kind of a trip someplace to you just wouldn't count as having been there? I mean, you said like Libya and Afghanistan. Well, okay, so you flew into Tripoli and spent a couple of nights there in a hotel and really didn't go out much and then flew out. Would that count for you?
It would.
It would. Okay.
But you're asking an excellent question because I'm not the only person trying to go to every country in the world or who's accomplished that. And that is probably one of the most heated debates in the community. And everybody, in essence, has their own rule because there's no universal governing body which states what is visiting a country. Yeah. My own personal rule, airports don't count. So no airports.
Layovers.
But
layovers don't count.
Layovers do not count, but some people count them.
Okay. Now, you've got a couple of events coming up this week while you're here. Can you talk a little bit about those?
One minute.
The first one is this Tuesday, Arvest. It's a art exhibition on Buzand at Napak, and I'll be showing a couple of my photos actually from Burma, Myanmar. So that's a great opportunity to see 20 artists from around the world showcasing their art. And on May 30th, you can look on Facebook, myself with 3 other Armenians who were billing ourselves falsely as the 4 most traveled Armenians in the world. We're going to be sharing travel stories from around the world on May 30th. So look at the Facebook event for that.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much,
And we
Rick.
hope we see all of that.
Yeah.
I hope
Thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences.
We had like hundreds of questions. We didn't cover even half of it.
2 pages worth of
questions.
I've got so many. I hope we can continue after the show.
Next time.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Will you take us traveling along with you sometimes?
I'm telling you, sign up for a November Bhutan trip.
Yeah.
It'll be an amazing experience.
Cool.
We'll see. We'll see. Stay tuned. Thanks for coming. We enjoyed you here in the studio.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll be back with a standard calendar of events for the upcoming week. The Great American Weekend. Still 5 or 6 minutes to go.
Ending off with a bang.
Oh, yeah.
Come and hang with us every weekend. It'll be a blast.
A blast?
Yeah, a good time.
No, come chill with us. It'll be cool.
Chill?
Yeah, relax, hang out.
Come choose the fat with us.
Yuck! No way! Join us
on the Great American Weekend, where we'll help you decode American slang.
And we're back with our calendar of events. And since this week our theme is art and experience, I would like to start our calendar of events with Armenia Art Fair, which announces its highly anticipated 2nd annual edition from 31st May to 3rd June.
I'll be there.
Yeah. And if you want to meet HazvaQT or Aramast, you go ahead and go there. So at Yerevan Expo Center, the expanded 2019 fair features 35 galleries and curators representing contemporary artists from Armenia, Iran, Belarus, Ukraine, Israel, USA, Spain, and the UK. And also there is new Art Week program of talks and workshops in partnership with the fair, running from 25th of May to 2nd June. Art Week offers discussions of diverse and fascinating subjects, including the relationship between art and new technology, developing trends in new art markets, and explorations of the relationship between art and data. Open to public 1st June 1 p.m. through 5 p.m. and 2nd June 11 a.m. through 5 p.m. 3rd June 11 a.m. till 4 p.m. So you guys are welcome to visit and enjoy this incredible show. If you have something to add.
Oh, it should be a very fun time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all the different artists from internationally, locally, And it's going to be fun to be there as a participant representing an artist, one of the Armenian artists, Felix Gazarian, with my good friend Israel Stepanian, who's
All right, and keeping with the sort of art exhibit theme, the next event that we're gonna talk about is the opening of the Arvest Expo, and this is the art exhibition that Rick was talking about a little bit earlier. That's on Tuesday, the 28th. At 7 p.m. and the expo is taking place at Napak. Artists from Armenia, Iran, UK, Cyprus, Ukraine, Russia, Sweden, and the US are participating. It runs from the 28th until the 1st of June. On the 30th, all of the artists will be there during the day, so you can go and meet them and see their works. And then on the 1st, the last day of the exhibit, the artists will be there drawing each other. Wow. And drawing some of the guests.
That's cool.
So if you really want to, show up on the 1st and maybe you can get your picture drawn by
so
one
cool
of the
to have
artists.
these international artists and to get these international opinions and styles in one place. So do not
I showed up for
lose your chance.
I've been to the Arvest Expo almost every year. This is the 5th one, and I've met some of the artists, and I've seen them when they were doing the drawings and the portraits of each other and stuff. It's fun.
It's always interesting to see the process. So now let's move to Yerevan American Corner. Debate club, as always. If you want to improve your English language skills and learn how to debate, join every Friday at 4 p.m. at the Yerevan American Corner with Debate Club with Jim Daly. This week's debate topic is traditions and the modern society.
That's an interesting one, especially here in Armenia.
Could include art in that.
Yeah,
I'm interested. I mean, I don't know anything about debate, and I'd like to learn more.
So the Reading Club at the American Corner in Yerevan. If you enjoy a good story and want to expand your vocabulary as well as practice your listening and speaking skills, join the Yerevan Armenian Corner's Reading Club. Every Monday at 3 p.m., you need an intermediate level of English to participate.
So if someone asks you, do you speak English, and you say so, you can go.
If you can say so, then give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a try. And Teenage Club, the Yerevan American Corner, as always, invites all teenagers to their weekly teenage club where they can improve their English, of course, and learn more about American culture and lifestyle.
There is no homework. There are no assignments.
Yay.
Only games, discussions, group activities, and tons of fun. So this takes place every Friday at 3 p.m. That is the Teenage Club at the Yerevan American Corner.
That's great.
Join the clubs.
Yeah. There, we have travel talk with 4 of the most traveled Armenians, May 30th.
One of which is Ric Gazarian.
We had an exclusive chance to talk to him first. So if you guys missed this show or you want to know more about traveling and its pros and cons, you go ahead and visit May 30th at 7 p.m. Tarma Restaurant. There is Artur Grigorian playing May 30th at the 2nd floor. And if you want to enjoy this opportunity, go ahead and visit the 2nd floor. And we have, as always, movies in English at Kino Park Yerevan Mall.
Unfortunately, my printout does not currently have So we have movies in English at Kino Park Yerevan Mall, May 26th to 29th. Aladdin, it's 6:05 and 8:15. Go see it and make a wish. Pokemon Detective Pikachu, 6:35. Video games turned into movies again. John Wick, Chapter 3, money-making trilogies, always fun times, especially when it's action-packed, non-aging Keanu Reeves again. So at 5:35, go and see it at the Kino Park. You do better Russian accent than I do.
Thank you, Hazva. And now we have Opera and Ballet Theater program, May 29th, Il Viaggio al Reims, an opera and concert performance at 7 p.m. And 31st May, Cipollino Ballet into Acts, 7 p.m. again. And there is a program at Hugo Bar, 27th May through 2nd June from 8:30 p.m. There are different DJs, DJ Greg, Smooth Music, Dave, Leo, Arnie Rock, and Hike Solar playing their sets to make you dance your night away. We're done.
And we've got more to say, but we don't have any more time. So we have to let you go. This is the end of the American weekend for this week.
But
Thank
not
you for
the end
joining
of
us.
all our stories yet to come.
Yeah.
So many last
thank you for
words.
joining us, and a very special thank you to our two guests.
And thank you to Hazva and Master for bringing those interesting guests to our
And
studio.
you, Ina, and you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm blessed by having you here with me. Be safe. Have a great rest of the weekend. We'll see you next Saturday. Bye-bye. 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 Bye-bye.